looking at me like that, huh? What, that's not a Christmas? That is totally a Christmas song. That will count as a Christmas song, okay? The movie that I'm about to review not only sang that song twice, but think about it. What is Christmas, December 25th, if not Jesus' birthday? So I'm counting that as a Christmas song, and it will be the Christmas song opening for this review. End of discussion. And now we're starting the discussion. Hey guys, the Black Critic Guy back with another edition of the BCG movie countdown to Christmas. Welcome to day number 6, ladies and gentlemen, and oh boy, do I have a special treat for you all today, because the movie that we're about to discuss and review is not a movie that came out 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, or even last year. No, this movie came out at the time of this recording 2 days ago. That's right, we got ourselves a fresh movie film to review. And what is the film that we're about to review? It is the 2024 Netflix animated Christmas film, That Christmas. Yeah, that's the title of the film. Not that original, not even that clever or unique. It's just That Christmas. So what, pray tell, is the premise to That Christmas? Well, simply put, it takes place in an English town known as Wellington-on-Sea, and it follows a series of families, particularly their children, as they deal with a snowstorm that is ravaging their town, as well as the excitement of Christmas Day and having to deal with interpersonal conflicts with siblings, with their parents, with other people in the town, and try to make it through their Christmas Day. That's it. That's the premise of the film. Pretty straightforward, pretty simple. Now, I'm actually quite shocked that I didn't know this before going into the film, but I discovered at the end of the film, after we were done watching it, that this film was written, or co-written, I should say, was co-written and based on a series of books by Richard Curtis. And I know what many of you are saying to yourself, are we supposed to know who that is, Tony? Like, who the hell is Richard Curtis? You said that like that was a big deal. Well, if you do know that name, you would know that it is a big deal, because Richard Curtis is a very famous writer-director. In fact, he's so famous, we've already talked about one of his films 3 days ago, as he was the writer-director for not only one of my favorite Christmas films, but one of my all-time favorite romance films, Love Actually. Yeah, same guy who wrote and directed that film. He co-wrote this film, and his books were the basis for this film. What a small freaking... Who would have thought Richard Curtis would be responsible for not one but 2 videos for my countdown to Christmas? I did not plan that. It was completely coincidental, and a pretty happy coincidence, honestly. But in knowing that Richard Curtis had something to do with the making of this film, I'm not gonna lie to you, I knew nothing about That Christmas. Really what caught my eye was it was a new film that was literally coming out during the time I was planning to do this. I actually thought the animation looked pretty good for something that wasn't Pixar, DreamWorks, Blue Sky, or it's like literally a lesser known animation company that was responsible for this, and it looked pretty good. So I said, okay, it has promise. And after seeing the film, if I were to sum it up in one word, I would say, that's the best way I could put it. It sure was a Christmas movie, that's for sure. Was it great? No. Well, was it bad? No. God, no, it wasn't that bad. But it was just, it's a movie. Sorry, I know, it's such a buzzkill. Like, really, after that opening, all you're going to say is, it was a movie? But really, that is how I felt after watching the film. And I will also say, before I get to the good things and the bad things, I am automatically giving this film minus 0.5 points for how it mocks Love Actually. Which, you know what? I might as well just give it minus 1 point because Richard Curtis, shame on you. How dare you allow them to make mockery of one of your best films? Let me explain. In the film, somewhere in the middle of the film, there's this character named Bernie. She's like the older child of this group of kids whose parents, they went to a bar and they got sidetracked and then they were trying to drive home, but the ferry that would take them home shut down due to the storm that I mentioned earlier. So they try to take the scenic route, get into an accident, and now they're stranded somewhere in the middle of nowhere, right? And so they can't get back to the kids. So now the oldest kid, Bernie, decides to take it upon herself to say, I'm going to make the greatest Christmas ever that's unconventional. That's going to make it so much better. And one of the things that they do is they force themselves to watch the movie Love Actually. And they're like, yawn, snooze, bore fest, yuck, I hate that movie. Fuck you, movie. You have no right to criticize a much better movie than you. You know what? No. Minus 1 point. I am minusing 1 point. Not just for the mockery, not for the sheer disrespect to, but because Richard Curtis, you had the clearance to say no to that scene, and you still let it happen. Now, I get it. Some of you are going to say, wait a minute, Tony. What if it was just a playful homage? What if they were just being cheeky and all of that stuff? They didn't mean anything mean by it. I don't care what their intentions were. The fact that the characters in the film are making fun of Love Actually, no. I will not stand for this disrespect. I will not stand for this mockery. I will not stand for them ridiculing what is not even objectively a better film than them. I am gonna hold it against them. Minus 1 point right off the bat. Minus 1 point. So anyway, now that I got that rant out of the way, let's talk about what I thought was good about the film and what I thought was not so good about the film. Honestly, the best thing about this film is the character Miss Tapper. Why say Taper? Miss Tapper. She was a genuine surprise because I honestly thought that this character was going to be a walking cliche. She's the grumpy, by the books, very respectful, she rubs her nose down at the commoners kind of teacher. And she starts off like that, but slowly but surely we start to see a little bit behind the curtain, behind the facade. Like you could tell she was hiding something. There's something about her that the movie hasn't told us yet. And as the film goes on, she's the only character that, no pun intended, you really warm up to her. Like, at first you think she's snooty, she's strict, she's by the numbers, she's scary, but it's all a facade. She even admits it. It's like, sometimes it's good to be the one that everyone's scared of, because it gets things done. So again, it tells you that she was just doing it just so that everything can get running and stuff. And I loved her relationship with Danny, one of the kids in the film. You know, again, starts off where she's just being like this strict disciplinarian, but she slowly warms up to Danny, teaches him how to not only be fun, but also to be confident and to look beyond his own selfish desires, look beyond his perspective and have a much wider perspective. A great lesson to teach kids. You know, I'm going to jump a little bit. No, I'll save that for later. But I really liked her relationship with Danny. My only issue is that I wish that we could have learned more. Yes, we do get a scene where we see her past, her tragic backstory. But man, it would have been so nice if there was a moment between her and Danny where she tells Danny the story. Like, you know, I once had a lover. You know, he always made me smile, and he's the one that taught me how to do these things during Christmas or how to embrace Christmas. But then, you know, something happened, this and that. And I've kind of lost the spirit of Christmas, Danny. But, you know, spending time with you and your mother, I feel reinvigorated. Like the spirit of Christmas has come back to me. I really would have loved that for her character. But overall, I still love Miss Tapper. She is the best character, the most fleshed out character, the most interesting character, the most fun character, honestly. Who would have thought this strict character would be more than meets the eye? And she's fantastic. And kind of going along with that, I liked the character of Danny Williams. And I think one of the reasons I liked Danny as a character is because he might be one of the most relatable characters for me personally. You know, to get a bit personal, I'm sorry about this, but to get a little bit personal, I grew up in a divorced family. I grew up where I woke up one morning and, you know, my father wasn't there. You know, he lived in the States, I lived on Guam. You know how far that's from each other? It's impossible for him to come here on Christmas Day. You know, I remember the first time I moved to the States when I was in the 5th grade. You know, my mom just recently became a nurse, just like Danny's mom in the movie's a nurse, and she is forced to work on Christmas Day, and she doesn't like it, and Danny, of course, is upset because his father didn't come, and now his mother's going off on Christmas when he just wanted to spend Christmas with his family. So that upset him, and I related to that because I remember very vividly the first Christmas I ever spent in the States. I did not spend it with my mom because she also was called into work on Christmas Day. And while I don't think I was as emotionally wrecked or as hurt as Danny was in the film, I knew it did bother me a little bit because it was strange. But also, to be fair to me, I don't really remember a lot of Christmases with my parents. You know, I got a bit too personal, didn't I? I'm sorry. But I relate a lot to Danny's story. You know, I grew up in a similar situation, you know, minus the snow and minus the cool little ATV that he gets in the movie. You know, I also grew up in a broken home emotionally or like parental wise, not a legit broken home. So, and I know the struggles of having to deal with, you know, parents that don't see eye to eye. Hell, there's a scene in the movie where Danny's mom's coming home and she gets a text and it just says him. That type of resentment, you know, I totally understood that. And the movie did not even need to tell me that she resented her ex. It was already clear just by seeing it in all caps, him, not even his name. And I was like, relatable. My mom felt the same way about my dad. So that's why I really liked Danny Williams' story. I also liked his growth because, you know, one of the best stories my father ever told me growing up is that he also had a mother that worked on Christmas as a nurse, and he used to be so upset with his mom, getting mad at her, saying, you know, you always denied us a Christmas with you just so you could go be with these people, these old people. And, you know, just like what Miss Tapper tells Danny is that, you know, sometimes there's no one for these people during Christmas. And your mom is the only one that can help this old lady who, you know, she might not see another Christmas with her son. And, you know, this means a lot to them. Maybe see it from their perspective. And, you know, when my dad told me their version of that story where my granny told my father, hey, understand, son, these people don't have family anymore, and I am their family, okay? And you need to be understanding. You need to be more caring and willing to share with the people that have lesser than you. My father's name was Tony, so she was like, you need to understand that, Tony. And it really shook him, and he was like, you know what? That is true. And he really learned a lot from that experience. Just like how Danny in the film learns that, hey, you know, my mom does a lot for me, and she has to put up with a lot. I know she doesn't want to be at the hospital on Christmas, but it's her job. She's the only one that can honestly do it. I admire that the film told that story. And really, Danny Williams' story should have just been the main story. The other stories, honestly, are like superfluous. They're not very meaningful. Particularly, I think the story with Bernie and her sibling and her cousins and her family. I did not like that story. I'm sorry I'm jumping a little ahead, but like that story really could have been cut from the film because it meant nothing. I didn't like her character. I didn't like her story. But regardless, Danny Williams' story really carries this film. Him, along with the character of Miss Taper, are the reason this film is not completely trash. They are the bright spots of this film. I will also say that I kind of like the story about the twins, Samantha and Charlie. I more or less just like the fact that despite Charlie being a rambunctious child and kind of just being full of herself in some instances, she does truly care about her sister. Whether she says it or not, she just expresses it in her own way. Now, the movie spells this out for us, which is fine. I won't complain, but it does kind of spell it out for us, whereas I felt like I got the gist of what the film was trying to tell me. You didn't have to spell it out. And deep down, despite all of her rambunctiousness, despite how she can be a bit chaotic and a bit mischievous, she is a good person at heart. And so I really like that even Santa acknowledges that. And he makes a mistake in the film and goes back and corrects the mistake and even gives her a pin that acknowledges officially. Nice. I like that. That was really sweet. Their story actually came to an end midway through the film, so we really didn't need to see much of them after that, because everything else was just like padding, honestly. The last half of this film is honestly padding, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that. I also love the animation. I thought the animation was pretty solid. Not just for a Christmas film, not just for a new animation studios making a name for themselves, which, what a way to make a name for yourself. This animation looks fantastic. It's like almost Pixar quality. Definitely better than Blue Skies. Not as good as DreamWorks and Pixar, but definitely right there in the middle. But what's surprising is that it's a really well animated film from Netflix, of all people. You know, I feel like there's only been like 3 good animated Netflix films, and I'm talking animation quality. Klaus is definitely the best animated film Netflix has ever made. In fact, that it's almost too good. And we'll talk about that film in the future, I promise. And then after them, like, I think, honestly, I can't think of what the second one would be, but the third one would definitely be That Christmas. Very well animated. The voice acting was pretty good. I think everybody did a really good job with their performances. No real standouts. Oh, no, I take that back. The woman who voiced Miss Tapper was a true standout. Because again, she did that cliche, very proper, very disciplinary voice, but added a bit of humanity to the voice. Where as much as it sounded cliche, it didn't come off as cliche. Excellent performance by her. And by the way, her name was Fiona Shaw, the actress that voiced her. If I'm wrong, please correct me in the comments, but I believe that's her name. She's an Irish actress. Other than that, yeah, that's it. I think that's all the good things I took away from this film. So what did I not like? Well, and this will shock a lot of you. And it shocked me when I thought about it. And when I realized it, I'm like, that can't be right. That can't be true. But it is. The biggest problem with this film, in my opinion, was the inclusion of Santa Claus. What? Santa Claus was a negative in a Christmas film? Tony, such blasphemy. What are you talking about? Well, let me land. Let me explain. I believe that the Santa in this movie might be the most pointless inclusion of a Santa Claus character in any Christmas movie I have ever seen. And you know why? Because, truthfully, he doesn't have much of an impact to the story. Now, I know what you're thinking. For those of you who've seen the films, like, well, wait a minute, Tony. He did drop off those presents. He did do all that. So if it wasn't for him dropping off that ATV, he wouldn't, Daddy wouldn't be able to get around as quickly and help that one family that was trapped on a pond to get rescued. He wouldn't have been able to drive and find the lost girl at the end of the film. True, but here's the thing. Did you have to see Santa delivering that? Honestly, no, ask yourself. Did you have to see the scene where Santa drops off that present? No, right? You didn't have to see that scene. It could have easily been they all go to sleep and they wake up in the morning and there's the ATV for him. It would be one thing if Santa Claus, because when he lands, he even admits that there was a lot of problems happening in the town. And I thought it was going to be a thing where he, like, throughout the night, he was going to help solve these problems one at a time. But no, he just, oh, there's so many problems here. Okay, I'll make it better by dropping off gifts. Which, technically that is his job. I won't lie, that is his job, but I don't know, it felt as though he would have a bigger inclusion in this film. He's on the goddamn poster! He's on the goddamn poster, and he's only in the film for, what, about 8 minutes? Less, probably. Probably less. I never counted it. And no, I'm not counting the fact that he's also the narrator of the story. That doesn't count. In fact, honestly, his narration wasn't really that necessary. It only adds to my point that he was completely unnecessary in this film. His inclusion didn't add, didn't subtract, it brought nothing to the table, in my opinion. And that's sad. This is a Christmas movie. How is the inclusion of Santa Claus a bad thing for the movie? That's incredible. I would have never guessed that. But truly, he didn't do much. He never interacts with any of the characters, minus the lighthouse guy, for literally a split second. They say 2 lines to each other. That's it. He doesn't interact with the kids. He doesn't talk to any of the adults. He shows up, drops presents, and then fucks off. Which, again, that is what he's supposed to do. But considering that he's in the poster and he's the one pointing out the fact that there are problems, you would have thought his inclusion would have been more profound. But no, it's almost damn near subtle that he was there. It could have been a breeze in the wind, and that was Santa Claus. So yeah, I thought his inclusion was superfluous. He didn't add much to the film. He didn't do much besides drop presents. That's it. He didn't really inspire anybody. He didn't motivate anybody. A talk with him and Danny would have meant the world, honestly. Especially because Danny says the lines like, if I had to choose between Father Christmas and my dad, I think I might have chose my dad. Wouldn't it have been amazing if Santa Claus actually sat down and talked to him? He's like, I know your father's not here, but I'll always be here as long as you stay nice, right? And then Danny might realize, you know what? Father Christmas might not be such a bad father after all. That would have been development. And that would make his inclusion more purposeful. Whereas we didn't get much. He was a wasted character in a fucking Christmas movie. Of all things. Santa, a wasted character in a Christmas movie. That's like beer being useless at a Mardi Gras festival. What? Yeah, that upset me to no end. Because when he showed up, I thought we were in the third act. No, we were still in the second act. There was still 48 minutes more to go of the film, and then Santa's not in the movie anymore. What? And actually, tying into that, man, that first act just draws on for too long. The first act was way too long, and then the third act, the conflict in the third act, was tacked on. They had this whole drama where Bernie, because she's having a non-conventional Christmas, ignores the fact that her sister walks out the front door following a bunch of turkeys, and then we have to go on this search. Oh my God, baby Evie's missing, we gotta go find her. This tacked on drama at the end of the film, which honestly, I felt nothing. I didn't care. She could have died and drowned in the ocean, and I wouldn't have felt a thing. And I know that's dark to say, but they didn't really give me enough time with Evie as a character. I already don't like her sister, so the fact that this is happening to her, you know what? You deserve it. You deserve it for being probably the most cringy character in this fucking film. So, yeah, I didn't feel anything about that last act conflict where the kid is missing, especially because she really spelled out where she was going from the beginning. Because she liked I'm going into the details of the film, but she says out loud that she liked the beach huts when they would go on their walks. So, gee golly geez, if you're paying attention to her, I wonder where she could have gone. Oh, let's choose the place that she went to before that she really liked. The beach huts. Honestly, that should have been the first place they should have checked. This whole third act drama would have been pointless. You didn't need it. So yeah, I wasn't a fan of that. I've kind of already complained about her, but like Bernie, hated that character. I hated everything about her. She's such a fucking try-hard. And not even in the, like, we're mocking her kind of way, or even in the funny kind of way. It almost felt like they were being semi-serious with this character, and I wanted to fucking vomit every time I heard her talk. Like, she puts on this Christmas play that, fair to the creators, that no one really thought it was good. It didn't come off as good. But at the same time, it was just like, why? Why do you need to make it the Three Wise Women? Why do you gotta make it like, oh, we're gonna change it all. We're gonna spice things up. You know, sometimes keeping things the same is not a bad thing. Especially because when you're trying to change it and your change is worse than what came before it. Like, I didn't like her. I didn't like her. I didn't like her story. I didn't like the whole non-conventional Christmas that she was trying to pull off because it felt like millennial drivel. It felt like Gen Z drivel. And that shit will never last. No one's going to think like we should do what she did for Christmas. No. We're always going to go back to the traditions. So nice fucking try, Bernie. It didn't work. Although, I must say, I had never seen a ginger black person before until I saw this film. And it looked pretty good. I'm actually kind of shocked. I literally have never seen a ginger black person in a film before. I'm shocked. That's the only comment I'm going to make about that. What else did I not like about the film? Oh, here's one. And this is kind of a nitpick. I'm not going to lie. This is definitely a nitpick. But, you know, I don't need pop songs in my Christmas movies, especially pop songs by Ed Sheeran and fucking, who's those guys again? The ones that made Viva La Vida? Coldplay. I didn't need them in the movie. When I saw the subtitle that said blah 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 by Ed Sheeran, I'm like, oh man, I thought I was done with this guy. He's gonna throw his shitty songs into this movie, and then at the end of the movie, when they do their little swimming during Boxing Day, I can hear it in the distance. I'm like, God damn it, is that Coldplay? Is that Coldplay in this? Oh, it was already bad enough. You gave me Ed Sheeran. Now I gotta listen to Coldplay too. Wasn't a fan of that at all. Yeah. I will say, as much as I saw the potential in it, I didn't really care for the love story between Danny and Sam. It's not that I didn't feel it. I think it had potential. I just think it needed more time to grow on the audience. Because really, they share 2 scenes before the climactic third act. But they need more time. And what's even more shameful is this is coming from the same guy that gave us Love Actually, and there's a romance that falls flat. I'm stunned. You could have done better, Richard. I don't care if it's a love story between 2 kids. You did that before. Remember in Love Actually? And that was more. They didn't even share a scene together, and I still bought that love story. As cutesy as it was. How was that more effective than the one in this movie that had more scenes? Make sense of that. Make sense of that. I don't know how that one love story in Love Actually was more effective than the one that I saw in this movie. I really don't. Shocking. Shocking, shocking, shocking. Also, the parents of Bernie and her sibling and cousins, I hated them too, honestly. I didn't feel anything about them. Like, I like the mom. I like Bernie's mom because she's very straightforward and matter of fact, and like she just kind of rolls with the situation. And she was a good mother. She was a good mother to Bernie. You know, when Bernie was feeling down about letting Evie walk out of the house, she didn't yell at her and just beat her down when she's already feeling guilty. She's like, "Don't worry, we just need to focus on finding your sister." I thought that was excellent. And okay, the father's a bit charming, because he's just kind of a dork and a nerd. He's charming. But then the other 3, like there's this one Indian woman, cynic. That's it. She's just cynical. Ooh. And then there's the other parents who, honestly, I don't even remember much about them. They're just kind of in the movie, I guess. No, that's it. I didn't care for the parents. Yeah. Overall, like, That Christmas, for as generic of a title that it has, and for as, you know, as it is, it's harmless. You know, it's not. I don't know. I don't care about this movie. There's nothing about this movie that's really like, oh, I really love that. That's a real game changer. That's something special I've never seen in a Christmas movie before. Because even like the whole like the curmudgeon older person that actually turns out to be a good person. Home Alone also did that. In fact, there's shit. Klaus did that. That's not a unique thing where a character you thought was like this curmudgeon or strict person or meanie or just bad person turns out to be actually a decently good person. That's not anything new. We've seen that in other Christmas movies, particularly animated Christmas movies. So even the character of Miss Tapper, as much as I love Miss Tapper, she's not that original. We've seen it before. So really this movie offers nothing. And what would have made it just like a okay movie, I already minus 1 point for it. And you know what? Now that I think about it, it is kind of a easily forgettable film. Which is a damn shame because it just came out, and by the time this review goes up, I don't think I will remember this film. It's that blah. It's that inconsequential of a Christmas film. And there are so many better Christmas films. Love Actually, which this movie thought it would be cheeky to make fun of. And you know what? No, movie. This is your Christmas present from me to you. Don't you dare mock Love Actually. How dare you? Anyway, so that's my thoughts on That Christmas. You know, it was definitely that movie. So what did you guys think of That Christmas? If you've seen it, did you like it? Did you hate it? Were you as upset as I was when they were mocking Love Actually? And let me know what's your... That's a good question. Oh, there's a question. What is your favorite character in a Christmas movie that is set up to be one thing but actually turns out to be another thing, such as Miss Tapper or that old guy from Home Alone or Klaus from Klaus? You know, these characters that start off like they seem evil, they seem mean, they seem curmudgeon-y, they seem like these terrible people, but in the end we actually learn more about them and they're actually quite decent and they're actually good people and they help the main characters out. Who's your favorite type of character like that? Comment below, let me know. I'm sorry if this video was super long. Yep, 31 minutes, so it's going to be another long video. Apologies, I guess I had a lot to say for this really blah movie. So, that's going to end it for me. I don't think I need to ramble anymore. Thank you guys for watching. If you'd like to see more videos on this channel, be a part of the Black Critic crew, please hit the subscribe button below. Like this video if you really enjoyed it. I'm Tony Watt II. The curmudgeon old man that actually is a sweetheart deep down inside as the Black Critic Guy. Till then, peace, YouTube. Happy birthday, Jesus.